Hello, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Meaningful Marketer podcast. I'm Mia, and this is Grace. And every week we have cozy marketing chats that are all about bite sized, meaningful marketing that is simple but impactful and that puts connection first, always, because
Always.
that is what timeless, real marketing is all about is connection and something that you're actually going to do. So that's, a big part of it too, which is why we focus on the bite size marketing method of just doing a little bit at a time and just focusing on impactful simplicity. Today, we have 4 viral or semi-viral reels for you that we are going to be reviewing, and we're going to be talking about how you can use these same concepts as, make them unique to you and your own. We're not copycatting here. I just want to say that we do a lot with looking at inspiration from what's working, but we always encourage you to make it your own. Give it your
Right.
own unique magic. But we are here to look at what's working and to see how we can take those same concepts
Yes.
and use them for our own content.
We're all about you sprinkling on your own special sauce, okay?
We're going to go over these today. And the cool thing about these is these are actually reels that we have turned into post templates for you. So
Yeah.
if you're on our email list, you're actually going to be getting, pretty sure all of these are on
Yeah,
the
I
calendar for
think
this
so.
month on the email list. So you're going to be getting these, and it's going to dive even deeper into how you can make these unique to you and break these down even further for you. So make sure that you are on the email list. I'll link that in the description for you if you want to join it, but let's dive right in. So reel number 1, and real quick, all of these are going to be linked down in the description for you as well, because I know you probably, you may not be able to see these easily, but reel number 1 is this one, and this is by Arabella Giles Jewelry, I believe is how you
Yeah.
say it. And I loved this. So we're going to break down a couple reasons this worked. So first, we're going to look at the hook here. So the hook is POV, you make handmade jewelry, and then you discover you also need to act, lip sync, dance, and be funny to grow a business on Instagram.
I love it.
Handmade jewelry, that's a great common ground, a great
Yep.
icebreaker. And then this is really leaning into humor. So another part of this that's really good is she is leaning into how business owners feel, where they're all like, oh, I do this thing and then I have to come on Instagram and do all these other things that I hate. So not only is there that icebreaker, that kind of word phrase there that's like handmade jewelry. Oh,
Yeah.
I love handmade jewelry. There's a lot of people out there who are just, that's their whole jewelry box is handmade jewelry.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure Grace is very much like that. Like you see
Love
handmade
it.
jewelry, that's a tongue twister. You are probably going to go see what they
For
have,
sure.
right? Because that's a common word there. That's an icebreaker. But really, the big icebreaker here is the humor. And it is the humor that probably a lot of her audience can relate to the fact that whether they own a business, whether, they are a creator of a different sort, that the world of Instagram and having to come on here and not really want to do all the things that you're,
Right.
do. Another part of this hook, of course, is the fact that it's personal. So she's saying you make handmade jewelry. It's coming from her POV. So it's got that POV part of the hook, which is very popular. I tell people, if you ever have issues with hooks, put a POV on the front of it and you're going to have an easier time. You can't just have all your hooks be POV. I mean, unless it works for you.
Right.
But that is, I feel like, a good gateway to making it feel more personal. And I don't know, it's like you're giving your point of view. And so sometimes when people are having issues with hooks, or if I'm having an issue making a hook, I'll just add that POV section on the front.
Yeah.
But that is making it personal here. It's giving her point of view of, I do this. I've realized I have to do this and I'm not thrilled about it. So you're incorporating that personal vibe, you're incorporating that storytelling,
Yeah.
all things that make a solid, good hook or just good copy in general that is going to connect with people. Another thing, though, that I really want you to notice on this is what we like to call a visual hook, like a disruptor. And so you'll see when she very first starts here, you kind of stop in your tracks because you're like, what does she have on her face? What
Yeah.
is she doing? She's not just smiling at the camera and go, real posed. This is very organic feeling, which is already going to draw people in, but it also is what we call a disruptor. And do you have to really focus on those things a lot? Not necessarily. There's different ways you can capture people's attention. But a very good way to capture people's attention is to have something that is going to disrupt their scroll. Something that they're going to go, what is that? Or, because you see hundreds of videos, hundreds of posts a day. And so if you can have something that kind of makes people go, what's that? It's going to have a little more of a chance that they're going to stop and read what you have to say. So I want to encourage you through this video, one great hook there on just leaning into the humor, leaning into the personal
Yep.
experience, which we always encourage to do for a good hook. But I also want to encourage you to try not making it so posed. Whether it's a photo, whether it's a video, you don't have to. I'm not telling you to go out of your way and like, oh my gosh, how can I make this a
That's so true.
disruptive hook? Like those ones that you see where a rhinoceros is like running at the camera and then it hits the
Yeah,
camera and then the person's like, hello, now that I got your attention. Like you don't have to do
I like
stuff
those
like
though.
that. But yeah, they get me every time,
They
even
get
though
me
I
every
know
time.
what's going on every time. And I'm like, they did it again. They got me again.
I'm like,
If
dang.
that's what you want to do, feel free. But I'm just saying you don't have to do those things to have a good disruptor. It can literally be that you're just not posed. Like you're
Yeah.
not trying to pose all perfectly for the camera, whether it be video or be photo. It maybe is just doing something a little out of the norm,
Well,
even sometimes holding something like me holding this pen, like this mic with a pen right now, that could be something where if you're doing that, and I've seen people do this before where they'll put their mic on like a credit card or something because people are going to go, what are they doing?
yeah.
It can be little things, but you really, if you're just getting started with it, you don't have to put much more thought into it other than just don't try and be so perfect and posed all the time.
Right. Well, that's Instagram is trending away from that, and we keep telling clients that, like, for a minute, they wanted everything super polished, and that's the kind of content that was doing better, but now we're back to authenticity, and we've talked to clients recently about, like, getting B-roll footage, and they're like, "Okay, but what do I do? Like, I don't understand. Like, how do I pose, and what exactly do I do?" And we're like, "It actually matters less how perfectly, like, posed you're not creating a short film, right?
No,
You're just getting a clip and then, the text that you're pairing it with is gonna do a lot of the heavy lifting anyway. So I think that's a great point. Like, don't overthink it. Do something maybe that people, would draw them in visually, but you don't have to, like, have it all completely set up and zoomed in and on a
no.
tripod and with perfect lighting even. Like, just get it done.
I think at one point, to what you're talking about, how Instagram used to be, I think at one point, the disruptor used to be clean, polished stuff
Yeah,
because it was more abnormal for
that's
someone to
true.
have a clean, polished look or like something super branded or something super well, choreographed in a video or edited really cool. That was unique. And then you had everyone who came in, and everything in that sense is so much more accessible now, whether it be video editing, graphic design. There's just so much more that's accessible to people that was not accessible at one time to learn. It was you go to college to learn it or you don't know how to do it. And now it's so much more accessible. So you had this big wave of people, clinging to that more beautiful, polished look of things. And not that those can't still be disruptive, they can. But I think that's why you're seeing now a lot of this, like more organic stuff is
Yeah,
disruptive. And when I say that, I mean it's stopping people scroll, which is what we want, right? And it's because that is less common now. So you're scrolling through a feed of these very filtered or very choreographed videos or, these really beautiful graphics or photos. And
yeah,
it just doesn't catch your eye the same because there's so much of that now.
yeah.
And so
That's a
when
great
you're
point.
are making something more polished, you really have to think outside of the box of how do I make this disruptive to somebody's scroll? And so, yeah, and honestly, sometimes the easiest way to do that is without having to spend hours on trying to figure out how to make something stand out. It's just make it organic and maybe make it a little messy. And then it ends up standing out a lot more than something
Yeah.
that's more polished. And that's a disruptor. And this person did that great on the disruptor. Because yeah, again, they're doing something, you're wondering what they're doing. They have this weird mask on, and yeah, so it just makes you kind of stop in your tracks. This video has 3,000 likes, 239 shares, 44 reposts, and it only has a couple comments. But yeah, a really great example of something shareable, something that
Yes.
got this creator. She's a small creator. She's got 2,000 followers. So that is, I mean,
Wow.
insane engagement for a small creator
That
because
is.
earlier when I was saying about viral or semi-viral, I don't know which way you say it. Anyways, is the fact that when we're doing these things, we're not always going to pull reels that are getting like 1.2 million views. That is not like accessible for everybody necessarily. And that's not normal. Getting engagement like this, getting engagement that's a couple thousand likes, that's a couple hundred comments or a couple comments, getting something that is obviously engaging people, they're sharing it with their friends. That is doable. You're not always going to have a viral reel, but you can have a reel that connects and does well. So that is what we're focusing more on here. And yes, they may have gotten, over 100,000 views, maybe a million views, but we're not only going to be showing you reels that are like way out there that you might look at and be like, oh, well, that's unattainable for me though, because it's not always about going viral either. So we have one here that is, I'm a mom with a belly and I don't know how to dress. And
I
it's
love this
literally
one.
just her showing how she does the stuff. So this is a great example of one, listening to your people. Again, the
Yep.
icebreaker here is she has put a comment or a question right there that somebody has. This is something I
Yes.
guarantee you that people have said to her, that people have commented on her posts, or that she has felt personally. So when we talk about like market research and stuff like that, it can be as simple as this. It doesn't have to be complicated. It's
It's true.
literally just, this is a question that's come up a lot for her or a comment that's come up a lot for her. And so she has put it right there just as the hook. That's the icebreaker. It feels, this isn't necessarily personal to her, maybe. It could be personal to her. But the reason a hook like this does so well is it just calls out what somebody has said. And I think it also makes people not feel not so alone when you're putting those quotation marks around this and people are seeing this is something somebody has said or felt, and then they're feeling that same way. I think it can also make you feel not so alone and you connect with that. You're like, I feel that way too. Like I have a belly and I don't know how to dress. And then somebody coming along and going, hey, I was there. That was me. And now I do know how to do this. So the personal part of this is you can see that this person, even though it's not quite as personal in the hook, it might be pulled from like something someone else had said to her. You can see in the content of this that this has been a journey of hers too, that she is one of you who are
Yeah.
resonating with this hook. She is there and
She's
she's
one of
like,
you.
I figured it out and I'm sharing it with you. And the content, it doesn't have to really be much more than that. Like
Yeah.
you're seeing a whole story play out in this content of, hey, I'm the same, I felt the same, or I'm right there with you and I figured it out and I'm sharing that with you.
Well, and it's the vulnerability part of it. It's like we're not really supposed to talk about that, right? We're not supposed to talk about like having a belly and being a mom. I love that. Like one of my favorite influencers does this whole series where she's like, here's my outfit unposed from every angle. And it always
Yeah.
gets crazy engagement because people are like, oh my gosh, wait, that's what I look like. And like, we're not supposed to show that on social media. So it's niching down your audience and it's also kind of giving them permission to be a bit like vulnerable and say the things that you're not
Yeah.
supposed to say on social media.
Yeah, which again is going to like cultivate that connection. It's going to cultivate that trust and it's going to build a really thriving community. And
For
the
sure.
other thing I want to say about this, going back to the disruptor in the beginning of this video, and it'll come back around in a second, but she's showing her belly. She has her belly out.
Yeah.
She's not posed. That again, another disruptor there of somebody scrolling along and going, "Oh, this isn't someone who's perfectly posed.
Yeah.
This is someone just being their normal self. They've got their stomach out or their legs out or whatever. And this is somebody, and they're not like posing like they're in a bikini or whatever. They're just showing you, hey, this is me.
Yeah.
And that can be a disruptor too. Now, I'm not saying you have to get out in your underwear again to be a disruptor, but it's just another example of how that can be really good because it's not that perfect, proper, just posed thing. It's something that's just real and raw and it stops the scroll because you're not seeing that as
For
often.
sure.
And it's vulnerable too. Now, I want to say when you're doing vulnerable stuff like this, sure, you're going to also get some mean people who it attracts too, and just remember to guard your mind. You're the gatekeeper of your page. So if something is happening on there that people are being nasty, you can shut it down. You can
Block and
restrict
bless.
them. Yeah, block and bless, restrict them, whatever you need to do. A lot of people don't know that you can, at least on Instagram, you can restrict people and they don't know that they're blocked or whatever, but nobody can see their comment. Only you can, and you can interact with them, but it can keep, if you have someone who's maybe being hateful to community members or they're being hateful to you and you want to handle that more privately without having to say, hey, we're taking it to the DMs, that's a great option too, especially if you have someone who you still want to give them the freedom to interact with your page, but you want to tighten the leash a
Tighten the
little
leash.
bit on like,
Yeah,
hey, the negativity is not allowed here, and so that's a
for
great
sure.
option. This has 3,100 likes, 400 comments, 9 reshares, and 144 shares. So when I say reshares, like reposts, that's the little button that we just got recently where you can
New.
repost it on your feed. Shares is where we're sharing it in a message or we're sharing it, the link to it in a text or something like that to a friend.
And stories too, right? Like that shares to stories. The repost is just for when it reposts on your feed, right?
Yes, the
Okay.
repost is just repost on your feed. And a huge part of what we want to do as business owners, creators, as far as social media goes, is the big thing they keep saying is create shareable content. And so
Yeah,
that's why you want to create content that connects. And a lot of the time, those metrics, those share metrics are a lot more valuable to your content than the likes or the
for
comments.
sure.
And a
For
lot of
sure.
people don't realize that and aren't valuing that as much, but that's a huge metric that you should be paying attention to. So this one is, I've got to scroll up quick so you can watch it for a minute from the beginning. How I made my $7 print club is, I think, what it says. And this is so fun. First off, I just want to
Yeah,
say, very cool how she did all the behind the scenes of this. Like, so
I
in this
love
whole thing,
that.
though, what she chose to do is she's showing the behind the scenes of her process. And while she's doing that, she is doing a voiceover. You can't hear it because I have it turned down. I don't want chaos of a million different voices on here. It'll be in the notes if you want to watch it, but she's doing a voiceover. So she's talking about what her brand is, what she does. And with this hook, this one, it's personal first. You're sharing your personal experience. People are going to be curious because it's a $7 print club? Like one, maybe what's a
Right.
print club? But I think the big one on this when I was scrolling that really stood out to me is $7. So $7 is cheap. We know, like it's a cheap thing. So when I see somebody's created something $7, there's a lot of things going through my head. Did they create this for $7? They're only charging $7 for it. They've created a business and it's something they're only charging $7 for. There's a lot going through my head, but I would say the icebreaker for this is probably that $7 word. That's
I
the word
agree.
that's making people like stop here and go, wait, what did you do for $7? There ain't nothing you can do these days for $7. And so it's personal, it's piquing curiosity, and then she's showing her whole process. But one thing I want to tell you about this, so this one I'm not going to go into the disruptor as much. There is a lot of movement in this. And that
Yeah.
is another great thing. That's a huge thing that we changed for our clients when we started working with a lot of them. Is one of our clients the other day, they sent us a video, and when I got done editing it, they were like, "You're so good. You literally take pretty much everything out of the video that I made." They've made like
Right.
a 2-minute video and I'm editing it down to 8 seconds. And they're like, and it's still good. And I was I was like, well, I wasn't always that way. There was a time when, I would take these videos or people would send these videos and I would have to edit them. And I'm like, ooh, but that shot's good. Ooh, but that one's good. It does
True.
not matter. Nobody cares if your hair looked great in that one shot. And I'm saying this with all the love in the world. It needs to be quick and precise. The thing that is going to keep them watching is that you have kept this moving. It's not that your hair looked great or your makeup looked great or the lighting looked great in those 5 seconds and you're just like, "Oh, I don't want to take that out because that was really good," or the scene that you were taking was really pretty. They don't care about that. So what I like to tell people is when you're watching a movie, do they show every little thing that happens? Not most of the time. You're getting little bitty snippets and you're putting the pieces together on like what's happening. And that is really what you need to do when you're editing a reel or, it's not obviously you have your B-roll reels. You have your B-roll reels that are more like, oh, this is just going to be like a 5-second reel. That may be a little different. And you're just maybe drinking your coffee and the text is kind of the star of the show there. But for
Sure.
something like this, where you are storytelling, you're showing your behind the scenes, or you are showing a process, doing a voiceover, it needs to move quickly because
Yeah.
that is what's going to stop the scroll there. And that's also what's going to keep that dopamine hit throughout the video. Because what happens is when we're on social media, and, whether we're for this or not, you're constantly getting those dopamine hits. And it's ruined us, to be honest. That's why how we consume content is differently these days. And So you want to, when people are watching that video, to keep them watching, you want to give those little bits of dopamine. And so whenever it's switching up, that's kind of what you're doing there. You're keeping them focused and you're giving those little hits of dopamine. It's moving
Yeah.
and grooving. And so yeah, and whether you believe in that or not, whether you feel like, oh well, I don't want somebody to be addicted to social media or not, our job is not to do that. Our job is to come on and authentically share, and we can share our values. But when it comes to like, how are you going to keep someone watching a 15-second long video? I mean, yeah, I'm going to tell you, you're going to have a reason they're going to keep watching that 15-second video, because they're not going to stick around and watch it. And so it's either going to need to move fast, or there's going to have to be some kind of payoff in that video, or they're probably not going to finish watching it. And
Good
unfortunately,
point.
that's just how we consume content these days. So that's a great one. This one has 7,800 likes, 43 comments, 31 reposts. I said it right that time. And then 1,800 shares. So
Wow.
really great. This one is just a B-roll, and it says, I didn't want to work a 9 to 5. Now I spend my days sending 418 prints to 418 pen pals.
I like this one
So
too.
this is a cool one too. Again, this one is very like good performing. This is not viral, but like 790 likes, 8 comments, 4 reshares, 69 shares. Again, a very attainable one though. And this is great because there's that aspect again of sharing personally, storytelling. And also a lot of people can resonate with that. You didn't want to work 9 to 5. Like a lot of your customers might be fellow business owners too, or they might be someone who dreams of owning a business, and so that's just relatable. I don't know anybody who really wants to work a 9 to 5 most of the time. So that's a relatable part of it. But also again, I think with this one, that kind of stands out. So you have that curiosity, because that is also a hook that's common across Instagram or TikTok. Like I didn't want to work a 9 to 5, so I did this. So you automatically have that recognition because you've probably seen this hook before. You know what a 9 to 5 is. So that curiosity is peaked of they don't work a 9 to 5 anymore. What do they do now? But I also think, again, the numbers here kind of, you're like, oh, you send 418 prints to 418 pen pals. Like, what's that? And so it piques that curiosity. It has that personal vibe of they're saying, I didn't want to do this.
Yeah.
Here's what I do now. And it kind of tells a story all in a little sentence of, hey, I worked a 9 to 5 once. Didn't want to work it. And so now this is what I'm doing instead. So this is another great way to share a little behind the scenes. But what I love about this one and why I wanted to share it is so often whenever we're making content, we want to share about what we do, but we're so literal. So I want to challenge you with this is like, don't be so literal. If you are wanting to talk about what you do, don't say, I don't know, like sign up to my pen pal club or snail mail club or whatever.
Right.
Or if somebody's like, I want to share reviews from customers, don't just come on there and go, here's some reviews. Tell a story with it.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
this tells the story. I'm learning what they're doing. They're not having to tell me,
Exactly.
join my pen pal club. They're not having to tell me any of that. But I'm getting to the end of it and I know what they're doing, but it's through them kind of telling a story.
That's such a good point. It's like when you're watching a movie, like in a really bad movie at the beginning, they're telling you exactly, like very literally, like who all the characters are and how they know each other. And it's like, okay, this is so boring
Yeah.
versus you're learning about characters through context and through certain lines that maybe aren't as direct. You're like, oh, I get it now. Like they're sisters. Okay. Like, okay, their dad died, whatever. I think that it's like that. You don't want to kind of pander to them and just be like, sign up for my thing, buy my thing. This is what I do now. Like she's making it so much more of an experience and a story.
Yes. I think one of the biggest pieces of advice I can give anyone on social media, just from like the experiences we've had with clients, my personal journey, and it's something people do not talk about, is just stop being so literal.
Yeah.
And that can be so many different ways with social media. But when you're coming out with what you're wanting to talk about, don't be so literal. When you're talking about repeating what's working, oh, well, I just talked about that, so I can't talk about it again. How can we talk about this in a fresh way? Like, we don't have to be so nitty gritty, literal about everything.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the biggest pieces of advice I could give anyone on social media. And you're also going to have a lot more fun when you
Yeah.
stop being so literal.
Yes.
And you're going to start thinking, you're going to start reframing your mind in this way of, okay, how can I tell a story instead? And so maybe that's your next step with like this review a reel on how you can take it and make it your own. Is it's next time you sit down to make content, go ahead and be as literal as possible. when you're first doing it, and then look at it and go, how can I make this not so literal? How can I turn this into telling a story? And it's going to be so much more powerful in that way. But maybe
Yeah.
just having that stopping point, even because
Yeah.
it is, and it's so easy when we're fatigued sharing on social media that we're just trying to get the information
It's
out.
true, and we think that business has to be serious and has to be
Yeah.
direct, and, like, it can't be, like, fun and lighthearted, but it can, and you should be having fun with the content that you're making, and if you're not right now, figure out how to have fun, and then you'll be making more of it.
Yes. And it'll get easier over time. I tell people with so many things, but this, just for the sake of the subject we're talking about today, it's like learning a new language. You're not going to learn it overnight, but you can learn it. You just have to practice. And that's what, when it comes to making hooks, when it comes to, thinking of how you can story tell with your content, that's all it is. It's just, you're just learning a new language. You're learning a new way to reframe and to speak. And it does take practice, and it doesn't come natural at first. Over time, as you practice those things, over time, as you make more content, you're writing out hooks, you're writing out ideas for content, it will start to become more natural. If you practice it and take a little bit of that extra intention for 3, 6, 7 months of really putting that intention in, you'll start sitting down. And when it comes time to make content, you're going to know how to, maybe make something a little disruptive.
Yeah.
It's going to start coming more natural, and you're going to start thinking that way first rather than having to reframe your mind around it. The last thing I want to say about this is I think a lot of the time when we're working on things and we want to be intentional and feel like we put our best foot forward and we did our best, I think we associate that a lot of the time with spending a lot of time on it. And it's not about spending a lot of
You have to
time
be.
on it. I think it's about having the right stopping points, asking yourself the right questions. It's about taking little moments to
Yeah,
recenter yourself and to check your intention, not
yeah.
spending hours on something. And I think that's something that's really hard for people like us. And I know so many of you who are perfectionists and want something to be the best you can give. It's not about the time you spent on it. It's about those check-ins and just recentering and checking in on your intention. So that is our review a reel, give you some viral, semi-viral reel ideas for you to use and make your own. If you want to dive into these even more and have little templates that are going to help walk you through making them your own more, and all those good things, make sure to join our email list. We send those out every single Monday, but we will link the actual link to the reels that we mentioned today in the description. So that way you can look at them and also gives proper credit to the creators of them and everything like that. So anyways, we hope this was helpful. And if you want to dive even more into how to create amazing content, connect with people, make your marketing feel more simple, bite-sized, intentional, all of the things like that, make sure to check out our social media makeover class. It's coming out soon. We have a wait list for it, and you'll get 40% off if you're on the wait list. We're going
No
to
big
give you
deal.
a little treat whenever we launch it. It's going to be affordable for all businesses, and it is taking the principles like what we talked about today, and it helps you learn about them deeper, but also helps you create just bite-sized doable systems that are going to put everything on autopilot for you and really give you a good routine that you can actually consistently show up on social
Yeah.
media. So make sure to stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. We release these every single week. So make sure to subscribe and let us know if there's a topic you want to hear next. We will talk to you soon. We are cheering you on.
Bye, y'all.